My audio didn't record, so I'm re-recording it in the um, editing program I use. But hello everyone. I will be going over some games between Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. But first, we'll start off with an appetizer from Hikaru Nakamura and Ali Reza Firusha. So yeah, let's just get into it. Start off the game with e4, e5. Knight f3, knight c6. Bishop c4, knight f6. We're just in a good old regular Italian. Here, Elevation decides to play d3. It's all the way to play it, just not want to get into anything fancy. h6, stopping any knight g5 ideas. He plays c3, bishop c5, d4. Now you see the pawn structure he's going for. He plays bishop e7, and then here Elevation plays queen b3. And Hikaru plays the only good move, which is castles. Otherwise, you're most likely going to lose that pawn or lose casting rights. Adverse plays a4, just trying to take space. d6, probably play a5 at some point. a5, b5, they're going to come rushing down the board. Castles, knight b8. Knight back to b8 after bringing it up. It just wants to stop any sort of b5 idea. Like after b5, you're going to be forced back here anyway. I'm going to reroute it. Bring it over here. He plays queen e2. 6. Bishop b3. Just getting ready to throw these pawns in. Slowly preparing. You don't need to sort too much. a5, b5, knight b7, bishop a3, knight h5, 3, knight b6. Now Hikaru has decided instead of rerouting this way, he's going to go this way. Trying to keep control of the center. Rook e1, h3, king h1, knight f6, knight e1. You routed knight. Both players. Bishop g4, b takes c6, b takes c6. Now f4, striking back. E takes f4, e takes f4. Nothing really has happened until d5. Now there's many ways to play this. And queen d2, it's Alvarez's choice, which is the top line of the computer. E takes e4, c4, and bishop e6, which is a mistake from Hikaru. That's computer nonsense, in my opinion. I don't see a mistake. Bishop c2, e8, f5, bishop c4, knight f3. Knight fd7 is another mistake. Bishop c1, king h7 just looks like Alvarez is taking over this game. e5, and Alvarez does a singular mistake. And Hikaru plays king h8 and misses it. Misses what he had to do here. He had to play bishop to f6. Sacrificing the bishop. He takes that, so rook takes here. Knight takes here. Then bishop d5. Bishop e4. And now queen takes f6. The computer deems that this bishop is so bad that it just wants to sacrifice it. What is that? Here goes h8. Alvarez responds rook g1, a reasonable move. Rook g8, knight bd7, bishop d5, knight e4, knight c5. And Alvarez plays knight takes c5, which is now leading to a draw after bishop takes c5. Plays rook e1, knight c4. I'm going to turn off the analysis here. Bishop f4, rook b8, and Alvarez makes a mistake. I'll give you a couple seconds to see if you can find the move. You can also pause the video, see if you want to find it, or can find it, in fact. But after queen h3, Hikaru plays the stunning, beautiful queen to h4. Really, only good move. If take the queen, It's bishop to f3, checkmate. Alvarez plays king g2, which allows a mate in 3. Queen f2, you can take with the queen, because that's mate. But Hikaru misses it, and takes the free bishop. And here, Alireza Firouzja resigned. Beautiful game from Hikaru. Queen h4 is a stunning idea, and there's really nothing more to say there. But now let's get on to the main course, shall we? Let's get on to Hikaru versus Magnus, and this is their first game. Magnus starts out with d4, 5, knight c3, knight f6, bishop f4, a6, e3, h6. This is all regular stuff. You don't want to play knight here against bishop here, because then there's knight here, and you sort of get fucked. Horrific. Magnus plays h4, e6, knight f3, b6, knight e5, knight fd7. Just looks like Magnus is taking over the game, and Hikaru is playing really passively. But that's the thing about Hikaru, this is the kind of style that he perfected back in the day. After knight fd7, Magnus plays queen f3, knight takes e5, bishop takes e5, knight d7, bishop f4, c5, d3, bishop b7, long castles, and rook c8 is a mistake. e4, striking back in the center. C takes d4. E takes d5, brilliant move. Sacrificing the knight. But if you take the knight, there's d takes e6. If you take this back, queen g6, and you're mated. Beautiful move from Magnus. Absolutely beautiful. So, Hikaru just plays knight f6, and Magnus responds with the beautiful move. D takes e6! Sacrificing the knight again, but this time you can't take it because you lose the queen. And also, there's probably some sort of checkmate there. Knight h5, king g4, knight takes f4, e takes f7, check for anything. King takes f7, so you can go queen takes f4, check, queen f6, and now rook takes d4, queen takes f4, rook takes f4, check, king e8, bishop d3, rook c7, and Magnus is just starting on the attack, trying to make hard. Trade off the pieces because he's up 2 pawns. Magnus plays bishop here, knight e4, bishop e7, 3, king c8, rook e5, rook d8, rook d1, rook f8, c3, g5, h takes d5, h takes g5, rook d2, g4, rook e6, just slowly maneuvering the rooks up the board, slowly creeping, trying to fight that advantage that he most definitely has. King b7, rook d6, b5, rook takes d4, b4, king c2, pawn takes c3, takes c3, rook f5, a4, rook a5, king b3, king a7, rook d4, wanting to meet rook check with a possible rook here in the future. Rook b7, king here, bishop here, king here, rook a5, doing the rooks, rook h1, rook a1, 4, trying to bring a rook here and go over here, but Hikaru attacks the knight, king f3, bishop b2, knight c5, attacking the pawn, and here Hikaru signs. Because he's gonna lose his pawn, there's no way to defend it. His king is going to be wide open for an attack. So let's go on to 2. Now here it starts off with Hikaru playing b3, e5, bishop b2, c5, e3. This is a very passive structure, but you're going for the bishops. going for the bishops, and you want to attack in the center in the future. Knight c6, bishop b5, bishop d7, knight f3, knight f6, c4. Now you see the expansion of the pawns, which looks like it gets the bishop trap, but unfortunately there is just takes here, and also you can drop back. You can't drop back. After this, you just take, and you win a pawn. But the bishops never get trapped here because you can always just take the same amount of material back. Now, e6, c takes d5, knight takes d5, castles, rook c8, knight c3, knight f6, rook c1, bishop e7, knight a4. Knight a4 is a weird looking move, but the point is you want to attack this pawn. Hikaru might have to respond with something like this, or this, trying to be really active with it, or this. So now b6. Magnus Hikaru plays bishop a6. Magnus just moves the rook out of danger. Knight c3, bishop c8, bishop e2, bishop b7, d4. C takes d4, knight b5, rook d7. Knight b takes d4, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4. Just trading it all down. Castles, queen c2. Wanting to start something on the h pawn. Just beautiful diagonal to have. Bishop a3, rook cd1, queen c7, queen b1. Not wanting to trade queens and get a draw. Bishop e4, queen a1. Bishop to e7. To not allow bishop takes, pawn takes, queen takes, and opening up the king, possibly leading to a checkmate. Knight e5, rook dd8, rook c1, queen b8, knight c6. It's a fork. There's bishop takes c6, rook takes c6, rook c8, rook fc1, rook takes, rook here, rook takes, queen here. And now h6, h3, bishop d6, bishop d3, king f8, bishop b2, king e7, queen a4, a5, queen b5, queen c7, king f1, queen c5. Hikaru still not wanting to queen trade. Queen b4, queen c6, queen d2, bishop c2, perfectly defending the bishop. What did you do here? It's fine, you get cut off from your own bishop. There's b7, knight d7, queen e4, bishop e4, d3, and knight c5 is a mistake from Magnus. You have to play bishop c3 instead, go for this bishop trade. Or queen e1, just bringing the king out, then play bishop c3. But knight c5 is a mistake, and Hikaru misses it, and plays queen h7, allowing queen e1, king here, and then queen e2. That makes these pieces extremely bad. But you can't move one of them, because then you lose the other. You can't move the queen, because then you lose the bishop. And bishop here is coming. And Magnus misses queen e1 and plays bishop c3. Now bishop a3 is a mistake. Bishop b4. Bishop b2. Bishop c3. Bishop a3. It's an offer of a draw, but it's a mistake. And now f5. Bishop takes c5. B takes c5. Bishop takes f5. Sacrificing the bishop. E takes f5. Queen takes f5. Queen d6. Queen e4. Queen e6. Just trying to get the queen trade, because once Magnus has the queen trade here, he wins by force. Queen b7. Queen d7. Or queen e6, queen b7, king f6, queen e2, king g6, queen f3, Hikaru fighting on, c4, b takes e4, queen takes c4, e4, bishop f6 is a mistake from Magnus, allowing queen f5, king f7, queen h5. Apparently, you have to take the pawn, or play queen h5. King g8, and now queen takes a5, queen takes e4, king g1, queen g3, queen a8, king a7, king g2, queen c2, queen d5, queen a4, queen f5, king g8, queen d5, king f8, queen c6, Bishop e7, queen f5, bishop f6, queen c5, king f7, queen d5, king e7, queen c5, king e6, queen c8, d6, queen f8, king d5, king f7, king d4, queen e6, king c3, h4, king b2, queen e2, king a3, queen h3, queen d7, g4 is a mistake. Queen d5. f3 is not a mistake. Bishop b2 is a mistake. Queen a6 is a mistake. King b4, queen b6. They're in the time scramble. King c3, queen e3, king c2, queen e2, king b1 is a mistake. a4, bishop c3, mistake. Queen e4, mistake. Queen takes e4. Magnus is completely winning. F takes e4, king c2, h5, king d3, g5, king takes e4. It's a mistake from Magnus, blundering over to a draw. Here he had to play h takes g5, but it's a time scramble. H takes g5, king here, king here, king here. Now bishop moving backwards to check, and then playing to h6, so that you can go here and win the pawn. That would allow a5. It's a very dangerous calculation. a6, you would go here, sack the pawn, take this pawn, take this pawn. It's a draw. Magnus makes a mistake. It's a very critical endgame. Magnus makes a mistake. He takes h6, he takes h6, king d2, king f4, king h1, and now power just stays in the corner, and it's a draw because the bishop is on the opposite color of what you need. And Hikaru puts himself into the stalemate position, h3, and it ends in a draw by stalemate. And on to the third and final game. Magnus starts out with e4, e5, knight f6, if go to Rio Lopez. Knight g, e7. It's a Cosio defense. He basically wants takes. Nothing changes except you don't have a light square bishop. I don't have a knight. Knight c3, knight g6. So you reroute knight over here, so that if you take this, you're not getting an attack on this pawn. d4, e takes d4, knight takes d4, knight takes d4, queen takes d4, c6, bishop e2. It's always sort of dangerous to play for these sort of positions. Because I believe white has a trap here. I think it's this, you lose if you go here, maybe. Oh, you have queen d5. Now with this, you take the rook. Got it. So c6, bishop b2, queen b6, king d3, bishop e7, a4, a5, castles, bishop e3, bishop c5, bishop takes c5, queen takes c5, rook a d1, knight e5 is a mistake. Now, apparently what you had to play here was knight to f4, removing the bishop. But Hikaru didn't play that. Played here. Probably not wanting to deal with queen here. Queen d6, queen takes d6, rook takes d6, f6, f4, knight f7, bishop c4, not losing the rook because it's pinning to the king. King h8, rook d4, just bringing the rook back out. b6, e5, knight h6, knight e4. It's a tough match for Hikaru. It's a must win. For Magnus, he can draw. Rook d3, d5. He's playing for this. En passant, bishop d7, rook e1, rook a, e8, king f2, g5, and rook b3 is a blunder from Magnus Carlsen. In this position, g takes f4 is the move. So we draw. Rook takes b6, knight e3, bishop to d3, and knight d4 is a miss. And it's king f3, f5, knight to c5. Brilliant move from Magnus Carlsen. If rook takes e1, which happens, knight takes d7, and rook d8. Rook b7. Rook b7 is the best move. But Magnus plays rook to b8. Now rook e8. Rook takes d8, rook takes d8, And bishop takes f5, knight e3, knight e5 is the best move, but Magnus plays king takes f4, knight f7, knight e5, knight takes d6, knight takes c6, rook f8, knight d4, king g8, b3. This is a very critical play. King f7, bishop takes h7, rook h8, king e5, knight b7, bishop e4, rook e8, king f4, knight c5, bishop f3, rook d8, king e3, rook e8, king d2, rook d8, king c3, rook c8, knight c6, king f6, king c4, knight b7, king b5, rook g8, knight takes a5, rook g5, king b6, knight takes a5, g4, rook e5, h4 is a mistake, not a losing one. King g7 is a mistake, but a losing one. There's a bishop d2, king f6, bishop f1, knight takes b3, c takes b3. The knight is trapped. The knight is not going to escape. If the rook moves, the knight is dead. And bishop here is coming. So, Hikaru just decides to sack it immediately. Takes back, rook e4. And here, Hikaru resigns after making his move. And Magnus wins the match. Beautiful game. Absolutely beautiful game. Thank you, Pasming. Yeah. These were some beautiful moves with queen h4, setting up a checkmate. And the pawn moves sacrificing the knight because you're gonna just overwhelm the king. And yeah, have a great day.